There's no right. There's no wrong. There's no good. There's no evil. I'll make a bet with you. Two guys break into an atheist home. He has a little atheist wife and two little atheist daughters. Two guys break into his home and tie him up in a chair and gag him. And then they take his two daughters in front of him and rape both of them and then shoot them. And they take his wife and decapitate her head off in front of him. And then they can look at him and say, isn't it great that I'd have to worry about being judged? Isn't it great that there's nothing wrong with this? There's no right or wrong. Now is it, dude? And then you take a sharp knife and take his manhood and hold it in front of him and say, wouldn't it be something if this was something wrong with this? But you're the one that says there's no God, there's no right, there's no wrong. So we're just having fun. We're sick in the head. Have a nice day. If it happened to them, they probably would say, something about this, it just ain't right.
It's like an audio equivalent of a mass grave.
I've been elbow deep in your family member's poop. Wow, you have been right. Okay.
Some birds want it.
Look at the way they fluff their feathers.
Jesus loves porn too.
And welcome to Atheist Airwaves, episode number 80. I'm Christian Ferris.
I'm Amanda Stevens.
I'm Jeff Grime.
And I'm Luz Lum.
We record live every Tuesday at 7:30 Central on Ustream.tv, so please join us in the chat room like the fine degenerates we have with us tonight. Our intro audio this week is Duck Dynasty douche Phil Robertson practically masturbating on stage this really weird and detailed fantasy of torturing and killing atheists. Besides just being wrong about atheist morality versus Christian morality, I cannot be the only one who is completely creeped out by just how long he went on about that.
And how deep he got into it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it switched there into the second person. The Atheist thing pointed that out. But when you... this is the first time I actually listened to it. And it really is. That's like... It's chilling before that. But then when he suddenly switches and says, and then you...
Right.
Yeah.
Dude, you've thought this out, haven't you?
Yeah, it's like he's writing a snuff film in his head. He's like, yes, this is exactly what I want.
What was most appalling to me about the whole thing was a terrible disregard for proper grammar.
Many commas died to bring us this information.
I guess that would be on my list of things to be disturbed about. I am kind of a grammar Nazi, but I mean, he almost, when he got to the part where he's like cutting off his manhood, it's like, boy, he was so into it.
Yeah.
I really feel like Phil Robertson, if he decided one day there was no God, he's the kind of person that would make that. He's like, oh, well, I'm just going to go do that raping manhood thing.
Right.
Yeah.
This is the script for God's Not Dead, Part 2.
Yeah, I could see it.
I really don't understand that perspective of the idea that any kind of religious, whatever, tenets are the basis for how you act as a human being.
Yeah.
You know, and that just like completely boggles my mind. And, you know, this discussion comes up over and over and over again. Well, you know, if there's no God, then how do you know what's right or wrong? Well, you just fucking know. Because you're like...
Assuming you're not a
human,
sociopath, Phil Robertson, you understand that decapitating people's heads off is bad.
Yeah, that was also weird, decapitating people's heads off. That's a really good point, though, Luz, because... the Secular Student Alliance at Texas A&M University Corpus Christi had their great God debate today. Mm-hmm. And that's, you know, they basically have two mics. A Christian or a theist of some sort comes up and an atheist is there and they discuss things. Over and over, one of the things that theists kept doing was saying, oh, I know that because it's in the Bible, but I can't remember what it says or where it is, or I think that's somewhere in there. And it's like, if you got your morality from the Bible, you would know what it said, and you don't.
Yeah.
Well, but so, okay, that's a really good point, and let's follow that up logically. You think you got your morality from the Bible, but you don't know whether you did or not because you haven't read the Bible, right? But you got your morality from somewhere, and what was that? From your community, right? From your parents, from your family, from your people that you share the world with.
School.
Right? School. And that's where we all get our senses of morality from. Interactions with other human beings that teach us how to treat people.
I totally agree.
Like, can we just stop there and have that be the basis of our morality?
No, because that is, again, God has already been shoved into this tiny corner of the tiny little bits of things. He's not in charge of lightning anymore or natural disasters. Right. We understand that stuff. There's very few things that he's still in charge of, and morality is still one of them. So they have to defend that tooth and nail. Otherwise, what is God in charge of? Parking spaces. That's it.
Right, and an hour on Sunday.
And getting that lady a car.
Right. Oh, right.
Yeah.
There's some lady on Facebook today who was praying that God helped her buy a car.
Yeah.
This is what God has been reduced to. He used to be like this, all-powerful creator of the universe. Nope, Big Bang. Created humans. Nope, evolution. Now it's car buying and parking spaces. That's it.
Yeah. Passing math. Stuff like that.
Parking spaces is pretty important, though.
That kind of reminds me of Terry Pratchett, the concept in, I guess, probably from Discworld or somewhere, where it's like all these gods are always like, they're dying like all the time because people just like stop believing in them. So you have to like continue to come up with stuff you believe in so that you can have your gods to worship. So yeah, let's just keep doing that. Why not?
I'm really intending to go to Greece this year and bring back a bunch of like little gods and goddess statues. I'm just like, these are my people.
Yeah.
I like the Greek and Roman gods, man. They were like flawed. And I appreciate that far more than I do Jesus.
And there was a lot of discussion today at the SSA event about the problem of evil. And in fact, a Christian asked me, well, what do atheists say? How do they deal with the problem of evil? And I'm like, it's not a problem for atheists. The problem of evil is a problem because you believe in a just and loving God, and the same thing with the Greek gods or the Roman gods. These were gods who are not good people a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So the problem of evil isn't a problem for them either. It's like, oh, we're kind of evil too. So that's where evil comes from.
Let's not forget the Norse gods, who are the most like twisted of them all.
Yeah.
Those are my favorite.
Yeah.
There was actually a woman at the event tonight who worshipped the Norse gods.
Nice.
And believed in all of the other pantheons. So she believes Zeus is a real thing, but she doesn't worship them. So weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, I will admit, like, I became an atheist quite young. And for years, I was kind of like, okay, well, let's see, what people believe. So I studied, like, Islam for a while. I studied Christianity. I studied all the mythology and stuff. And at one point, I was like, Wicca sounds cool. It's very, like, nature, and I like nature and stuff. Right. But, like, the more I got into it, I was just like, okay, I don't believe in one god. How am I going to believe in, like, a bunch of gods? I was like, that just sounds even dumber.
Yeah. I was also like Wicca curious at some point in my life. Because, I was like, a middle-class white girl growing up in the 90s.
I think it was a rite of passage.
Yeah.
I did Wicca for a little while. I'm not going to lie.
I knew a lot of people that did. I just could not quit rolling my eyes.
Yeah.
I was just determined. It took me a while to realize that it was all bullshit. My original reaction when I deconverted from Catholicism was, well, that's not right. But one of these others must be. I mean,
something has to be.
Exactly.
People can't all be crazy.
I finally gave it up because I just could not draw the Ankh symbol. Like,
Too hard. Fuck it.
Did you ever try to do like the draw the turtle thing? Did you rage quit that?
Yeah, I just started smoking weed way too early.
Oh, dude.
That's a faith I can get behind.
Right. Let's go hang out in the woods, man.
All right, so let's move on to some news. This week, the state of Indiana, I'm sure everyone is aware of this, passed their own version of the Religious Freedom Reformation Act, and all hell has since broken loose. For those of you who are gigolos or not Americans, fortunate enough not to be Americans, the Religious Freedom Reformation Act, or RFRA, is originally a federal law signed by President Bill Clinton in 1993 and subsequently passed on the state level by about a dozen states or so. I wanted to read what the federal legislation says. That one, and I'm skipping all over the whereases, but the heart of it is, government shall not substantially burden a person's exercise of religion, even if the burden results from a rule of general applicability, except as provided in some subsection B, which states, government may substantially burden a person's exercise of religion only if it demonstrates that application of the burden to the person, 1, is in furtherance of a compelling governmental interest, and 2, is the least restrictive means of furthering that compelling government interest. So basically, the government has to respect a citizen's religious practices unless, for example, they're sacrificing virgins into a volcano. And in that case, then, the government has a compelling interest to step in and say, whoa, 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 step away from the volcano.
And the virgin.
And the virgin, yes, please. Because we have abstinence only, and you would have no idea what to do with that.
And I think it's important to point out that the original Religious Freedom Restoration Act was in response to a ruling against Native Americans who smoked peyote in a religious ritual, and then were subsequently fired because they, didn't pass a drug test. And Scalia actually was the one who ruled against them in that case. It was I don't remember the name of the case at the moment. Okay. It was something against Employment Board. But yeah, and then so they said, no, this won't stand. We have to make sure that these people can exercise their religious freedom. And it was an actual religious freedom thing, not just a, we hate these people and
we want to discriminate people.
Yeah.
That's not only true, but in fact, when it was used for those purposes, it was very, very narrowly interpreted. It wasn't until the Hobby Lobby decision and the fact that they could use this and try to use it towards Christian means that it started being more widely interpreted. So,
is anyone aware of any specific problems that the federal version of this law has caused?
Well, that's the whole Hobby Lobby decision. It's all based on this.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is just, I mean, it's really opened up this can of worms by going through the Hobby Lobby decision.
Like Ginsburg said, I fear that the court has stepped into a minefield, and that's exactly what is happening.
Let's see. Okay, so I did want to mention, though, that there are important differences between the Indiana law and the federal law and the laws that all of the other states that have this thing have. Texas is probably the one that's closest to the Indiana law. But does anyone want to explain the important difference between the clause that makes the big deal in the Indiana case? Or I'll do it.
Yeah, you can do it. I honestly didn't look at the two that closely.
Okay. So,
You're our legal expert, Jeff.
Right, I didn't look at Texas's version.
There are a handful of important differences. The big one, though, is that all of the other RFRAs only apply to defense against the government. Indiana's applies as a legal defense in civil matters. So while, the federal RFRA will only be, the government discriminating against Native Americans who want to perform their religious ritual, and say there are less restrictive ways of you furthering your governmental interest or what have you. The Indiana law makes it so that a private business owner can say, I don't want to serve gays or anyone. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about how this affects the LGBTQ community, but really anybody can be discriminated against on the basis of this law.
I mean, Christianity was used to defend segregation for years and years, so it's not outside the realm of possibility that someone could say, no, blacks bear the mark of Cain, I'm not serving them.
Yeah, and those were exactly the arguments. And it's the same arguments they're using against homosexuals today. I mean, it's all biblical, and we've been doing this over and over and over and over again for hundreds of years. It should be criminal, but...
Yeah.
Okay, so let me play devil's advocate here for a second, because I'm no legal expert. So so I have a smoothie shop, and I have a sign in my door that says I reserve the right to refuse service to anybody. And in my world, that would be like assholes, jerk faces, whatever. But like the guy down the street who reserves the right to refuse service to anybody, what's kind of like the fundamental difference legally between me refusing service to a dick face or a guy with a neck tattoo or somebody wearing a color I don't like versus somebody refusing service to, an LGBT person or a person of color or whatever?
Okay. I would have a multi-pronged response to that. First, I would say that there are a whole slew of protected classes where you're just not allowed to. I would also say that while being a person of color or being gay is not a choice, being an asshole is totally a choice. You can choose not to be an asshole. You can choose not to make a scene in someone's places of business. Even people who are wildly out of control go into businesses every day and are perfectly well behaved. So I've also often wondered about those signs because I'm like, it doesn't provide you any rights you didn't have in your business, if you didn't have that sign. And in my head, one of two explanations. One is one of those, people on YouTube put on, they totally rip off some video and they say no copyright infringement is intended. It's like, intended? You did it. This is not going to protect you from the powers that be if they decide.
Totally.
So I think maybe some of them are just stupid.
Right.
But the other thing is I think maybe it just makes it easier to get assholes out of your business. You just point at the sign and say, sorry, I reserve the right to refuse service to you.
Right.
But I don't think, I don't think there's a correlation between.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think I think he, from the legal standpoint, he hit it directly on the head there. It's if you're a protected class, then you're entitled to certain constitutional protections, and that's, it's equal protection under the law. Right. And all of that has been applied to every citizen through later amendments in the Constitution, and that's really where the Civil Rights Acts of 1964 and 1965 came in. It's stupid. I mean, it's listening to that as that, in the legal means doesn't really get to the heart of it. But the thing is that, as a society, we want to protect people who might be in the minority, and it's not real clear Supreme Court wise where LGBT fits in there.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sexual orientation, where any of it fits in. But I think that it's getting harder and harder for them to ignore it. And that might be very well be coming down this year, and they're getting ready for that. So
Can I ask a clarifying question? And maybe you'll know the answer to this, maybe you won't. But if the Supreme Court rules that states cannot discriminate in delivering marriage licenses to LGBTQ, doesn't that kind of set them up as a default protected class, even if it's not listed?
yes, and then there's different levels of protection that are provided by equal protection. The strongest being strict scrutiny, which is the scrutiny that's seen with race. Oddly enough, your sex is not. It's not. It's not given that higher degree of scrutiny. That's what the ERA was all about.
Right.
And the fact that the ERA wasn't passed, that's why it's kind of a big deal. That's why being female doesn't. The fact that a law that would discriminate against females being looked at doesn't receive the same level of scrutiny as like a race one. And I don't know how this is going to fit in there, but even if it's given some level of scrutiny by the Supreme Court, then blatantly, denying service is something that's going to be a deal.
Yeah. The ERA being the Equal Rights Amendment.
Right.
That was defeated in the 70s, right?
Yep, absolutely.
So, yay, America.
The one thing that I wish they would put in all of these religious freedom restoration amendment things is that you just have to put up a sign in the front of your store. Due to our religious beliefs, we will not be serving blah.
Right.
Do you really think that would make a difference?
I think it would in some cases, and at the very least, I think people just wouldn't go in there if they fit into that category.
But
and maybe
I can't help but think that that's not true. That raging liberals like me would absolutely not go in there, but I think that might make them happier. It's like, oh, we got rid of all the damn liberals.
Sure. And the backlash would be who does go in there and goes in there in increasing numbers. The thing is, those people are dying off.
Yeah.
I guess, but I feel like the Indiana legislature would not have done this, and the governor would not have done this if they didn't think it was a popular thing in Indiana.
Okay, so now today the governor is talking about, hey, we didn't actually mean this to legalize discrimination or whatever.
Yeah.
Is that a crock of shit or what?
That's a whole bunch of shit.
Yeah, it's a huge crock of shit. I mean, the thing is, his balls have already been cut off by the Indianapolis mayor. You know, the Indianapolis mayor came out and said, "This is crap. This is bullshit." Guess what? If you're coming to Indianapolis, this is not going to be in effect because we have our own municipal laws here, and we're not. You know, if you're coming here, you're going to be protected. I guarantee you. The rest of Indiana, I don't know. And he gave him he gave him certainly. A bit of his own.
Yeah, like all of my family comes from Indiana, and Indianapolis is its own little world. It's very much like Texas. You go to Houston or San Antonio or someplace, you're in a wonderful land of like, you know, there's people from there's people from other countries, and there's all kinds of diversity, and it's wonderful. And then you go to a place like Newcastle, Indiana, where they used to have a Chrysler plant, but now they don't anymore. And there's nothing to do except have sex and do drugs.
And discriminate against people.
Pretty much. They don't have a lot of people in town anymore. Everybody is banging each other. Everybody has too many babies. And they're on the lookout for somebody to hate for being different because there's nothing else really going on in that town.
And the governor was interviewed by George Stephanopoulos this weekend, and George Stephanopoulos asked him at least 8 times directly, yes or no, this law is meant to discriminate. And he wouldn't give an answer, which
he wouldn't even say no?
No. He just kind of filibustered. He would just keep talking and keep talking and keep talking. George would ask him again. He'd keep talking and keep talking. And he would just never answer the question. Clearly, the answer to the question is yeah. It totally is. And I really wish that, you know, he would just do me the favor of not lying about it. It's like, if you're going to do it, just own it.
Right.
Yeah.
But there is no illusion among the Christian bigots in Indiana about what this is about or what it means. I've got some audio from an Indiana restaurant owner who called into a local radio show to talk about that. So let's listen to that.
Ryan, I believe, who's a local business owner. Good morning, Ryan. Is that right?
Yes. I don't want to say what business I own, but...
Well, I would understand that because you'd be putting yourself directly in the line of fire, I feel like.
Come on. If you're going to support this, though, tell us who you are. Why is it a big deal?
Well, you know what? I don't think I'm ready to come out of the closet, per se, to talk about this bill. But I'm 100% behind the bill.
Why?
I mean, I think, you know, I understand people's lifestyles and what they want to do, but I don't want them bringing that into my place of business to make my other people that are there feel uncomfortable. You know, I grew up Christian, and I believe in man and woman. I guess, you know, Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. So,
but don't you also believe in equality too, Ryan?
Okay, so here's the deal. If someone asks you, do you believe in equality, and your answer is, you're kind of an asshole.
Yeah.
Own it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and this guy kind of did. I mean, he went all Adam and Eve, Adam and Steve on
But
this.
he's such a coward.
Is this the same guy who was like, yeah, you know, they come in and I would like make excuses, like my equipment's not working.
He's such a coward.
Yeah.
Just, if you're going to discriminate against people because they're gay, just tell them, hey, we don't serve your kind in here.
Well, what he's saying is that he used to have to lie when he kicked gay people out of his restaurant, and now he doesn't have to. He's not afraid.
He didn't have to.
Well, he was afraid of legal ramifications of doing that. So now,
no, he's probably just a wuss.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what
you're
saying. Is like he didn't want to actually have a confrontation.
He's too much of a coward to actually confront people.
He's still not going to deny some service. Guaranteed he wouldn't.
Yeah. So that's an interesting question. Like, but after this, like, how many people are going to actually implement it and stand up and go, "Yeah, I'm invoking my right."
Well, I mean, it happens in Texas already. I mean, you know, I was having this conversation with some douchebag the other day, and he was just like, well, no one's ever going to go back to those businesses who, you know, say they're going to discriminate. It's like, come to frickin' Texas, because I can show you a country bar in Victoria, which is very close by here. There have been at least 3 news articles written on 3 different occasions where they have kicked gay couples out of their bar.
Guys or girls?
Both. I know that was what I was going to say. The first couple they did that to was a pair of women, and specifically they told them, that gay couples were allowed to dance with each other, but not to country music.
One of the lesser known of God's laws. And then George Strait did say, oh, for heaven's sake. I do think it's heartening that, at least in Indianapolis, and I know it's spreading a little bit, they have started like a "Everyone is Welcome Here" campaign, so you will be able to eventually go online and see like a database of all the people who have joined the campaign, so you know what businesses are quote unquote safe,
Right.
and then they'll have a sticker in the window. So, and I know that's spreading, and God, I hope.
Yeah, keep doing that stuff.
Yeah.
There some people were circulating a list of products and companies that are based in Indiana. But turns out there aren't any, so don't even worry about it.
Actually, I had a friend, because again, all of my family's in Indiana, and she was like, Red Gold Tomatoes came out against the RFRA today, and she's like, y'all don't know, but this is a big deal in Indiana. If Red Gold is against you, you are fucked.
Okay.
That sounds very strange. I will just have to assume it's an Indiana thing, and I wouldn't understand.
I would assume that the Lannisters are up to something.
The other thing that I wanted to mention about this story is that they are already feeling extreme economic impacts from this thing. Gen Con, which brings in tens of millions of dollars every year, gaming convention, they say they're going to pull out. Annie's List is pulling out a project that is, again, worth tens of millions of dollars. A lot of jobs in Indiana they're pulling out. Salesforce is pulling out. The cities of San Francisco and Seattle and the state of Connecticut, all three of those have now banned government employees from traveling to Indiana. I mean, not personally, but on professional business. Yeah, no, they're going to follow you around on your vacation. You better drive around Indiana,
That's
goddammit.
right, just all the way around. Yeah.
So I think that's great. And
The women's AFSCME, it's a union, but they canceled their upcoming convention in Indianapolis.
excellent.
Also, the Indie Big Data convention is coming up, and like 7 sponsors have pulled from this. So it's spreading.
Yeah, and the NCAA Final Four is in Indianapolis this year. That it's too late for them to change that, but unless they change this law, I bet it's gonna be a while until we see it in there again.
NASCAR came out today.
Shut up.
NASCAR said they were disappointed.
What?
Yes.
Dude.
NASCAR.
That's hard to believe.
I know. I was just like, someone posted it on my Twitter feed, and I was like, someone just made this. Someone made a thing, and no. I found an actual sourced article.
That has to be like Newslo or something. It has to be satire site.
NASCAR is against it.
Y'all. Holy crap. There was one other thing that I wanted to mention about this, and that's, people have been, people in the atheist community here and there I've seen have been advocating, oh, hey, we should put up in our businesses, we won't serve Christians. And I wanted to just say 2 quick things about that, because I think that's an awful, awful idea. One is that discrimination is never okay. I don't care who's doing it or to whom. But 2, I feel like that tactic will just embolden them, because there's like 3 atheists in Indiana. And so you're going to say, one of them owns a business and you guys can't go in it. And they're going to say, okay, well, discrimination sounds great. See, I'm okay with it when you do it to me.
Well, there's probably actually tons of atheists in Indiana. They're all just in the closet,
I know. Please, got it,
Or they're
atheist.
in Indianapolis.
Got at atheistairwaves.com. Call and complain about how I'm defiling your atheist community in Indiana. My bad.
I love you, Indianapolis atheists. I will probably be there one day, so don't hate me.
You're that guy from... It wasn't me. Okay, so in other state lawmakers who have lost their goddamn minds, Arizona State Senator Sylvia Allen was bemoaning the moral decay in our country on the floor of the House when she hit on a brilliant idea. Let's just make church attendance mandatory. Let's listen to Sylvia talk about that.
Use knives, or you can use whatever. It's the soul that is corrupt, and how we get back to a moral rebirth in this country, I don't know, since we are slowly eroding religion at every opportunity that we have. Probably we should be debating a bill requiring every American to attend a church of their choice.
Obviously, the only solution.
Okay, I have kind of a strong opinion on this.
No.
Well, I mean, I think that basically what's happening right now is this woman is getting way more attention than she deserves. And I think this was an off the cuff, rhetorical argument that she was making to try to point out the ridiculousness of whatever bill she was against and push her own pet agenda to her own little pet group of constituents. But obviously she wasn't serious.
But she has since actually started saying that she might push this bill.
Yeah, that's because people are giving her way more attention than she deserves, and she's milking it.
Yeah, I think she was clearly just stroking out, but...
Yeah, no, exactly. And then she's like, oh, people are watching. Let me do some more.
Maybe. I'm going to play the second clip at this point. This is from 2009. Same woman on the floor talking about the evils of environmental regulations and the age of the earth.
I can't say enough how it's time that we get beyond and start focusing on the technology we have and move forward into the future so that our grandchildren can have the same lifestyle we have. And this earth's been here 6,000 years, and I know I'm going on and on, I'll shut up. It's been here 6,000 years, long before anybody had environmental laws, and somehow it hasn't been done away with.
All right, so I just want to say...
6,000 years is super long.
You guys...
If we haven't ruined it in 6,000 years, jeez.
Oh, man.
What could possibly go wrong? I don't think she's kidding.
No, I didn't say she was kidding. I just said she shouldn't be taken seriously.
Right.
But unfortunately, this is a woman that has been given a significant amount of power in our country.
Well, okay, 9. So that was 2009. It's 2015. So she's been in office for at least 6 years.
And the second she said that 6,000 year thing, that should have been it. And I'm sure she said stuff before that.
In a sane state, sure.
Right. Yes, exactly.
But that would work just as well in
Texas. Sure.
Yeah, sure.
Doesn't our governor believe that? Yeah. Or maybe our former governor? I don't know.
Probably both.
Yeah, most likely. Not to mention our lieutenant gov. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
He's the worst. But, this is not just some lady off the street. She's a state senator.
Mm-hmm.
That's, in terms of power in the state of Arizona, that's pretty far up there. And so I kind of, while I understand what you're saying, I also feel like we can't possibly give this woman enough attention. Some people got to, free their heads from their posteriors because how do you vote for nonsense like this?
I think you do. I think you just have to point it out every time that they do it and give her every bit of attention that she deserves. And everybody will know exactly how crazy Arizona is. And eventually it's going to end up hurting them. It's just like their good old Sheriff Joe Arpaio there. He got a lot of attention and he thrived off of it. But everybody knows how crazy that he is. And everybody knows how crazy Arizona is as a result. So.
Right. That's a good point.
Ironically, I think that her proposal would violate RFRA.
Yeah. That would be a government.
Yeah, I think that would be. I would feel unduly burdened.
Indeed.
Well, did you hear that the phrase that she threw in there to worship at the church of their choice or whatever? That's like legalese. That's the way you get around.
Yeah, but what if your religion was you didn't believe in churches or whatever? And so, I get what she was trying to say there, which tells me that she's thought about it.
Oh, yeah.
I think really interesting things are going to happen as a result of all of the RFRA acts. I really do. I think we've talked about the garage sale forever, and that's exactly what's going to come as a result of this. They've already pushed it with people using that as a means to legalize marijuana. Is it really going to work? No, of course not, because people are going to back off on it when they realize that it's not really just about Christianity.
And actually, I think this is a perfect time to jump to the next story, because I think what you just said, Jeff, applies in this case so much. You want to tell us about it, Amanda?
So there is a wonderful church in Florida that I would actually attend, I might say. It is called the Life Center, a spiritual community, and their preferred method of getting in touch with the spirit is, twerk until dawn. So the church is owned by a man who I can only assume was like an extra in an Eddie Murphy movie in the 80s. His name is Marcus, spelled Markus Q Bishop.
Marcus Q Bishop.
That's right. He advertises that its events are drug and alcohol free, and they say it's a church by day and a youth ministry by night. But they were also running a nightclub, which was basically the church, called Club Amnesia.
Club Amnesia is their youth.
Club Amnesia : Tabernacle, wasn't it?
Or youth ministry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they had, this is my favorite part. They hosted weekly Wet and Wild events, described as Whitewater meets Tabernacle PCB with a little twerking.
That's hilarious. So what town was this in?
This was in Panama City.
Panama,
which makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Panama City, Florida,
Yeah. Have you guys ever been there?
When I was 4.
It's like a constant wet t-shirt contest.
Yeah.
Well, apparently that's what the youth ministry is about.
Yeah. Praise Jesus.
But it's, they didn't hold liquor permits or licenses or anything. Was zoned as a church. They got their tax exempt status. And so they were pretty much overlooked for a while. It was like...
what tipped the cops off is that suddenly he started installing a whole bunch of ATMs in front of the church and banners. They had, what else did they have? They had raves, pajama and lingerie slumber parties.
Paging fair and told.
Right. Congressman Ducky Jammas, you gotta... This is your place. Anything but clothes paint parties, which is interesting. So when those banners started going up, the police were like, huh.
And then, wasn't there a thing about they had all these, decorations on the wall that were, stick figures doing oral sex?
Yeah.
But not P and V sex because you don't want to do that. But oral sex is
right.
probably fine.
That's against Jesus.
Yeah.
But oral sex or anal, that's fine.
Yeah.
The local officials in the town spoke out about this. They stripped them of their tax exempt status. Drew Whitman, who's the chief of police, said, I've been in a lot of nightclubs, and I bet he has, and I've been in a lot of churches. That isn't a church. Dan Sowell, who is the city's property appraiser, said, a God-fearing, God-honoring church in January does not sponsor this type of debauchery in March. And then they found a spring breaker who said, I feel it's an abomination. How can this be a house of the Lord, but at the same time participate in so much sin? This sounds like, going back to what Jeff was saying, this sounds like such ripe ground for a RFRA lawsuit saying, you as the city, as the government, don't get to tell me what a religion is, what a church does.
Yeah.
That is not your place.
I'm an ordained minister, and this is what our ministry is. And whether it's Christian or something else, you have a right to it.
That's right. Whether you agree with it or not, twerking is an essential part of our faith.
And I think, frankly, it's a better sell than the peyote thing. I think it's an easier sell than drugs.
Sure.
Well, what I think is rad about this story is, that's really interesting, the perspective that you pointed out. I hadn't quite got there yet. But coming at it from a similar perspective, I think that the fucked upness of the ability for churches to get tax exempt status and then do whatever they want is being exposed, and I think that's super rad. Yeah. I'm really, that's why I love this story.
Well, one of the first churches that got approved in Indiana after RFRA was the First Church of Cannabis.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. They got their legal status as a house of worship. So apparently it's cool to smoke weed in Indiana right now.
Cool.
Wow, I'm so conflicted now.
Well, and then this guy, another part of the story was that he had a $10 million home that he was trying to get off the tax rolls because he called it a parsonage.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the Marcus Q Bishop, he lives there.
That's right.
Right.
And he's the head of the church. So yeah, I think that's a good argument. It would fly with the Catholic Church.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that's what this does is it chips away at exactly how we recognize religions here. I think it's great. I mean, I think in the long run, this works against them. So
yeah, I think Luz brings up a great point though, because and I have no idea what I was going to say about this.
But yeah, basically RFRA puts the government in a position to decide what is and isn't religion.
Yes,
and
exactly.
it's like, hey guys,
there's a
you
constitution
really want
still.
this?
Yeah, this is not okay. And religionists and the Christians as supremacists in particular in this country, that's what they want. They not only want to tell you you have to be religious, you must go to church on Sunday, but they want to tell you how to do it. There's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it. And I guess I can understand how that makes sense to them when they're sitting in their Christian communities. They're not talking to anyone but other Christians of their same denomination. That's Christian privilege. It does not occur to them that there are other people out there. So
yeah. The other thing that I've seen is that the RFRAs may be a backdoor to Sharia law. But it's true. Like, who is the government to tell you that you can't do this stuff if it's your religion?
Yeah. Well, and to be honest, I would agree. I would say that the government shouldn't. And if you want to privately, as they do in Dallas, practice Sharia law in your communities, and you're not making people do it, but the people who say, yes, this is my deeply held belief, if they want to, I don't care. Yeah. I think it's a bad idea, but
and if the state wants to interfere with it without a compelling interest in doing it, you're violating that.
Right.
Yeah.
I totally think I would have been a Christian way longer if this was what youth ministry was like. Lingerie parties? Oh yeah, I would have stuck around a little longer for that.
I think one of my first major steps in my atheist journey was I got tricked into going to a pizza party when I was in the 4th grade. I'm sure everybody has a similar experience, right? Like, hey guys, there's a pizza party for all the 4th graders. You guys come out. Yeah, it's in this Baptist church, but don't worry about that. It's just pizza. We're gonna have fun, And I showed up, had my pizza. Then there was a little thing, recruitment thing. Yeah. And I was so pissed. I just walked out, and I remember when my mom dropped me off, she was like, you don't have to stay if you don't like it.
I don't like it.
I don't like it. Come get me. She was there in 5 minutes.
I don't know. These people have a much more compelling sales pitch. I mean, someone comes to your door and says, excuse me, have you heard about Jesus? I'm closing the door. But if they come up and say, excuse me, have you heard about our drug-fueled sex cult? I'm like, actually, no.
Tell me more. Come in. Would you like to have a seat? Yeah. My more recent, defense against the Mormons at my door was answering the door mostly naked and being like, sorry, I'm kind of in the middle of something. Yeah, but if it was a sex cult, that wouldn't really work, would it? Maybe.
No, it would probably have the opposite effect.
Yeah.
Let us tell you about a little thing or two.
Right. And I'm all like, if you can teach me something,
Whoa, this has suddenly gotten Phil Robertson level fleshed out in terms of fantasy.
Sorry, getting weird.
I'm uncomfortable.
False.
What? Corpus Christi Atheists meets every Sunday at 5:30 p.m. This weekend, we will be meeting at B&J's Pizza, just east of Airline and SPID. If you don't know where that is, please visit ccatheist.com for a list of all of our public events. And if you're interested in connecting with our affiliates, please visit southtexascor.com to connect with any of our sister organizations that stretch from here in Corpus Christi down through Laredo and all the way down to Brownsville. Okay, let's talk about Rebecca Greenwood. Rebecca is a self-styled prophet who was interviewed on a Christian television program this week. She believes that she can see the future, and one of the things this show was promoting was some investment opportunities based on the fact that they knew these things that were happening in the future. Sounds legit.
Totally.
So the first thing about this, before I even get to what a ridiculous person she is that aren't there... there are multiple biblical instructions to not go to fortune tellers, not go to seers or anyone like this, and that they're all like, in
charlatans,
in league with the devil and stuff like that. I think they actually say that they actually can do these things, but that they get their power from Satan or whatever. Yeah. So I'm not exactly sure how a Christian organization gets past that.
Because Jesus gave her the power.
Well,
That's
okay, so
nothing to do with Satan.
So what's the difference between like a crappy Satanist, like seer or whatever, and like a real prophet like Jesus or whatever?
It depends on where you get your power. Do you get it from God or not?
Yeah, so I mean, do you get like a card that tells you where it came from, or like a chip that you can like, track back, or you
just look at your palms, and if you've got the stigmata, then it's like
it's legit.
Right.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, this first came to her at a Benny Hinn rally, so I mean, obviously it's legit.
That's the have you guys heard about Benny Hinn this week? I didn't put it in the show sheet, but Benny Hinn, for those of you at home who don't know, is a faith healer, complete whack job, but he had heart difficulties this week. Who wants to guess that he went to see a faith healer about his health problems?
Totally.
Yeah, he spent some quality time in ICU this week.
Right.
It's just weird because it just seems like if you're a faith healer, I mean, maybe they can't heal themselves, but surely he's in the community and they just can like call someone else.
Right.
Come on.
And
Does Jesus love you or not, asshole?
Right. And he must believe, right? I mean, he's the faith healer, so he has the faith to heal himself. What's the problem? Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to digress. So she went on this whole long tirade, and I didn't pull all of the audio from it. I just wanted to pull this first part because it cracked my ass right up. Hold on.
And I'm really good at going to movies, and I didn't know why.
That's all I wanted to play.
I'm so good at going to the movies, y'all. Even before Fandango. Like, I was pro.
One of my biggest talents.
I want to know what kind of movies this woman is going to, because that is going to
Christian
really...
movies.
That's going to, make my decision of whether she's for real or not.
All right, let me actually read her entire statement. I have no idea what being good at going to movies means. I mean, it's like... the little fold-down chairs don't flip you up or something. I don't know. She says, and I'm really good at going to movies, and I didn't know why. And lots of times we would be sitting watching a movie, and I'd look at Greg, I guess is her husband, even before I understood I was a prophet. And I'm like, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to be the outcome. So lots of times he would tell me, don't tell me what's going to happen at the movie. If you understand before it's happening, I don't want to know before it happens. So
it just sounds like she's seen a lot of movies, man. Like, I can do that shit.
And I'm guessing she probably has terrible taste in movies.
Probably. She probably watches the same shitty Christian movies. And of course, like, the atheist is going to get hit by a bus. And, yeah.
And also, most movies suck, and they all follow the same freaking plot line.
They're formulaic, and formulaic plot devices are really transparent.
Yeah.
My wife does this all the time. And
isn't it so annoying? Are you like, stop it with your prophesying?
Yeah.
Stop telling the future of the movie. Yeah.
You know what's funny is, okay, spoiler alert, like before Gone Girl came out and all the previews were just on,
seriously? Not really.
I turned to my friend and I was like, you know what I want from this movie? I want this movie to be her just fucking with him.
Dude, you're so good at going to movies.
I know, right? Thank you, Jesus.
You're a prophet.
You can send checks to P.O. Box.
She's got some investment tips for you. It's going to be really amazing. The other really weird thing that she mentioned was watching a documentary about killer bees with her dad, and how she said, they're coming to America. And her dad was like, oh, la, la, la. I did the math. The bees were already in America when she made that prophecy. That was already... They came... Apparently, the first Africanized honeybee permanent hive, came to Texas in like 1990. So they've been here for 25 years, and she said it was like 15 years ago that she made this prophecy. It's like, that's a really easy prophecy to make.
Yeah.
I can do that. Guns N' Roses is going to have a great album in 1987. I'm calling it now. All right. So let's move on to Catholic high schools. It's like my favorite place to hang out.
Ayo.
Welcome back, Christian.
Right. School officials at DeLone Catholic High School are cracking down on the near constant assault on boys' morality and dignity perpetuated by girls' bodies. Not content to gather fathers on a balcony during a prom to creep on the girls below and then, toss the skanks out and humiliate them in front of their friends, which is such a good time. That's not good enough. The school has now instituted a policy that all girls must submit photographs of themselves wearing their dresses for pre-approval by the school, which is just morality police gone awry. But I've kind of in my head made sense of it. It's actually pretty ingenious on the part of the school administrator. If you whip it out at the prom and start, pleasuring yourself right there on the floor of the prom, you're going to get arrested. But if you can convince the entire student body to sext you, you just sit in your office with all your sex, and
That's right.
that's what I think this is about.
Is this too short? Can you see too much of my boobies?
What about when I bend over?
It's terrible.
That's hilarious. Well, when I first read this article, I just kind of dismissed it as file this up under this is what you signed up for when you signed up to go to Catholic school.
So these are all minors and they didn't sign up. Okay.
Or when your parents signed you up to go to Catholic school, right? But I didn't think about it from that perspective that you just so colorfully described. And now I'm a little bit more disturbed.
A little creeped out, yeah.
I thought about it in the same way Christian did. Automatically, maybe that's
Fucking
just
men.
that we're
Can
pretty
I just
creepy.
say?
Yeah,
Dude,
seriously.
fist bump, yeah.
You are both fathers. This is disturbing.
I'm not submitting pictures of my daughter in her prom dress. I fucking guarantee you that's not going to happen.
Yeah. Well, that totally explains why Christian wanted me to send him a picture of my outfit before I came over tonight.
It's just part of the dress code for Atheist Airwaves. That's all.
It's a screening process.
Yeah,
we have them all.
That's
They're
fine.
saved.
Just pretend I'm a Mormon and just, text me what you would wear if I was a Mormon at your door.
Am I showing too much wrist?
That third pose was almost too revealing.
I mean, I think there's a good point to be made there, Luz, in that, obviously this is a private school. There's no public concern, and I'm not concerned on it from should they be allowed to do this, because absolutely. You have a private school and you're not taking government money, you can do any messed up thing you want. I do think it's without question sexist. And while it's harmful to the girls that go there, I think it's also harmful to the boys. And insulting, frankly, because the argument comes down to women's bodies being distracting. And I mean, I'm a dude, I will admit, yes. However,
but it's also pointing to your inability to control yourself.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Being distracted by women's bodies.
Infantilized
Exactly.
young men. It's just like you have no control over your body, and how could you be expected to with them titties in your face?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But it continues to adulthood. At my work, I assist in connecting people to jobs, and I had an executive, number 2 in the company, call me and say, I need some engineers to work in our oil field, and they should have this and this and this, and also they all have to be men. And I was like, well, that's illegal, and I can't help you with that. And he's like, no, you don't understand. If you have women out on an oil rig, no work will get done because the men will just spend the entire time just, slack-jawed staring at the women. That's a fact. I'm like, it's still illegal. But I also don't think it's true.
Oh,
no.
It is true. I mean, because I know women who...
Well...
I'm not saying it's impossible, but it does happen.
I will just tell... So, okay. Let me acknowledge the fact that we have so... taught our boys that it is natural for them to be completely distraught if there is a woman nearby, and heaven forbid you should see her knee, or even worse, the skin that it's just like an inch and a quarter above her knee. That would be awful. So there, for sure, we are creating monstrous young men who feel entitled, or, you know, oh, I can't help that. And I really wish that instead of policing women's bodies or their dress, what we focused on was their behavior.
Right.
And that if you are the kind of person who literally cannot do anything if there's a girl there,
right,
that's the problem. It's not the fact that the girl has a knee, it's the boy's behavior. But I also want to just say that I find it offensive that people think that I am such a slave to my hormones that I can't operate or function if there happens to be a woman nearby. That's ridiculous.
I totally agree with you. And I also feel that there's some element of peer pressure, you know, in that direction too, meaning that boys, I mean, I'm generalizing here, obviously, but I think there are times when boys feel that they're expected to act in that way, you know, in that like gross, like, you know, hormonal boy way around girls, because that's what other boys are doing, even if they find it distasteful or inappropriate or whatever.
But that's exactly where we should be expending our energy, rather than having young girls sexting the principal of their high school. We should be, and instead of, because here's the other thing that they frequently do is they take the girls out of the classroom and
because you're a distraction.
Yeah,
totally.
And instead take the freaking boys out of the classroom and say, hey, knock it off.
Lord of the Flies isn't allowed.
Totally. I completely agree with you. And this is not a perspective I'm kind of embarrassed to say that I had thought of when, you know, when I first started thinking about this story.
I've been out on rigs. I used to do maritime law, so I've been out on the rigs.
And I gotta say, I've heard a lot of complaints about how distracting it is to have you there, because that ass though.
I was pretty damn distracting too.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've been out on them. I've been but I've also been on ships where they had female officers.
Sure.
And it's something that's totally doable. And the excuse of, well, the guys are just like this, doesn't fly. That's why you have an HR department.
Right.
Totally.
That's why you have federal laws.
And it's why you have training, you know? I mean, I know like NOAA ships are about 50-50 men and women. They don't have issues with this, you know.
The last bastion of all male crews are on submarines, and the Navy is in the middle of converting their submarines to accommodate a mixed gender crew. And they're not just doing it because they think it's funny or whatever. This has been studied. It's not an issue. It's an issue we are creating.
Right.
And then the solutions that we're pursuing are negative,
exacerbating the issue,
or even making new problems. Because one of the things that I was looking up this weekend was scientific studies about this stuff, and the American Psychological Association has done a metric shit ton of studies on the potential psychological effects of the kind of objectification that we do to young women. And over and over and over, they find that it leads to all kinds of mental problems and eating disorders and depression. These are not just, hey, this is our culture. It's toxic.
I agree. So what's the solution for this Catholic school?
Well, first they should stop being Catholic. I mean, that right there will clear up a lot of the sex hang-ups they have. And then the principal should just come out and say, yes, I'm a pedophile and I'm going to get the help that I need.
No, I mean,
show
but
everybody
seriously,
who's seen the pictures of it.
Right.
Should we, I mean, this is a point where like the parents should be the ones standing up and saying, we don't agree with this, and these are the reasons why.
That's what happened. So there has been a huge revolt at the school. I don't know in terms of percentages, but there's a petition circulating. People are outraged, and rightfully so. Although I have to say that listening to some of the parents were saying, they might be outraged about the wrong thing, because a lot of the mothers were just like, we've already bought the dress.
Right.
You know, how, or, if we go and buy the dress and then we send you the picture and then you deny it, and then all the dresses are gone, or it's too late to buy it.
Are they supposed to send like dressing room text messages?
Could be.
I mean, definitely. That's nuts.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to our next story. So Jehovah's Witnesses are kind of nutty, right?
Jesus
Although, I've got to say, like, all the Jehovah's Witnesses that I've met here in Corpus Christi, they're all exceedingly nice people. And I don't know if it's like a thing down here because I've never encountered so many Jehovah's Witnesses in my life.
It's totally a thing down here.
Yeah.
It's weird. I wonder why that is.
No, they have I don't know which part it started in, but they really got a root in part of the Hispanic community here.
Yeah.
And
Selena was Jehovah's Witness. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. And they were, I mean, when she got shot, it didn't have anything to do with her dying, but they were refusing transfusions. All kinds of nutty things. So anyway, a young Jehovah's Witness identified only as Michelle was giving birth to her first child. It was a girl, but during the delivery, she lost a lot of blood. Doctors wanted to give her a transfusion, but she refused because Jehovah's Witnesses believe blood transfusions are evil and the work of the devil. The doctors came back later and were like, look, you have a baby. You're going to die if we don't do this. And she said, nope. Finally, they had to intubate her and put a tube in her throat so she could breathe. And, she couldn't even talk at that point. They asked her again. They're like, your baby's literally like hours old. You are going to die if we don't do this. And she just scrawled on a piece of paper, nope. And then,
surprise!
She died. Who could have seen that coming? And that's awful. I mean, it's super tragic, and it's just an example of the harm that stupid beliefs cause in our society. But it's not even the most creepy part of this story, because some of her friends put together a tribute video for her, and they sent it out to the Jehovah's Witnesses mothership, and they put it out on their official Facebook page or whatever. And there was no consternation. There's no outrage or shock among the Jehovah's Witnesses community. They were stoked. They were so excited that this young 20-something mother would rather die and leave her newborn than accept just the bare minimum of medical care.
There's such a creepy deification of women who die. It's really, like, it really creeps me out. Like, you're not worth saving on your own.
No, you're better off dead.
Yes. You're better off dead so your baby can survive. Because you've done what we wanted you to do. So you're done now.
Female martyrs are hot.
Guys, I'm so freaked out right now.
I mean, hopefully they all have C-sections, so they're still really tight. You're welcome.
Okay, so now no more of this. Oh, you guys are so awful, because you have just won the most distasteful remark of the episode.
Yeah. But it creeps me out. Like, the number of people, like, on my Facebook feed who will do, like, this mother made the greatest sacrifice. It's like, in so many cases, she could still be alive.
Yeah, I mean,
that's just stop being a douchebag.
That is the worst thing about this story, is that there was no sacrifice necessary here. You know, I mean, women get blood transfusions. It's fairly common, to get a blood transfusion when you had these kind of complications in childbirth. You recover, you have a baby, you raise the baby.
Yeah.
You live your life, and that's good. I'm so freaked out about, like, I'm trying to put myself in this woman's position and try to get myself in a place where I could go, no. It's better for me to not, live for my child.
Let me tell you what'll help you make that decision. First, you lose a lot of blood.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be interpreted as a religious experience if you're so inclined anyway. So I don't know. It's just so fucked up. And so in the article, this guy, this JW Watch guy, was talking about the coercion that comes from the Jehovah's Witness mothership and how strong it is. You know, it's a it's cult or whatever, I guess. And you know, it's easy to chalk this up to, well, okay, you're an idiot mother who decided to die or whatever, but you were practicing free will, right? This was your choice.
Sure.
But where's the line between having been coerced and manipulated into thinking you're exercising your free choice, you know, or being like an informed adult capable of making logical decisions? And is it dismissive of this woman to say that she wasn't capable of making her own free will decision here?
Yeah. Well, and I think that line is so hard to draw. It really is. And I don't have, other than just this overwhelming sense of sorrow I have for not just this woman, but her family. I mean, in general, I think if you're an adult, you can make your own decisions. But this is one of those things where it's a blood transfusion. There is nothing controversial about it. And it's just so hard. Indoctrination is a hell of a drug. And when you get someone from birth, I mean, this poor child who is going to grow up without a mother is going to grow up basically deifying her mother's actions, which will be better than blaming herself. So I hope maybe that's what happens.
I mean, hopefully, right?
Yeah.
Either way, this kid is going to be messed up.
Sure.
Yeah.
But
what about the husband? Like, I didn't read anything about the husband.
he doesn't matter.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I have no idea.
I mean, unless this takes him away from the church.
Right, exactly. That's my thought. When he's like, you know, a week into this with a baby he doesn't know how to raise all by himself, maybe he'll be fucking pissed.
Yeah.
You know?
It's possible. But
You
it's
know-
also equally possible that he'll be like, God has given me many trials.
God never gives you anything you can't handle. Oh, dear. All right. So before we move on, let's talk about a few of our upcoming events. We just finished doing the women's shelter Easter donations for the kids that are housed there. Did you drop those off yet?
Yes,
or-
I dropped those off today. My entire back part of my car was just full of baskets and candy and little stuffed animals and stuff. And
It was an amazing picture. That was a lot of stuff.
it was a lot of stuff.
When I was checking out at the store, because I took the last donations we got and went and bought some stuff yesterday, I basically filled up a cart. And when I went to check out, first of all, there's only one register open, so I pissed everybody in that store off. I was there forever. About halfway through, the woman had to take a break, scanning all this stuff, and she's like, "Is this for a school or something? What are you doing?" But literally, like, I stripped some of their shelves bare. It was fun to do.
So how much stuff did you guys end up gathering?
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
We don't have a better quantification than
Okay.
a lot.
A shit ton. We
Pretty
didn't
much.
save receipts or anything?
We have some receipts. I mean, they were in the bags, but so the women's shelter probably has them. But
Yeah.
it's hundreds and hundreds of dollars worth of stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Is it weird? Sorry, I'm super
No, this is a
curious.
good question, actually. What you're about to ask.
Well, so is it weird to be an atheist organization donating stuff for an Easter, the observation of an Easter holiday?
It was a little weird shopping because I had to like pick through the chocolate crosses and the chocolate praying bunnies.
Right.
So you got like non-explicitly
Yeah.
Christian stuff,
Oh, I
obviously.
got mostly pagan stuff like eggs and bunnies. Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's strange. I mean, in my house we celebrate Easter. We celebrate it like we celebrate Christmas. It's a family holiday. Most of the traditions that we're observing are pagan.
Right.
We're not pagans either, but you know,
It's fun.
Just
This is fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's kind of what I figured, but I didn't know if y'all had
And I always think of it, it's not for us.
Exactly.
It's for the kids.
Yeah.
I don't care what the kids believe. I just want them to be happy.
And if the kids are Christians, I still want them to be happy.
Totally.
You know?
Totally.
And you know, they're going through a rough time in their lives for sure if they're shacked up at the women's shelter. So I mean, I feel perfectly fine helping them in any way we can. So
Awesome.
I don't think we're promoting religion, and I don't think we're enabling it anyway. We're just making a kid's holiday better.
And more normal, probably, when they're
Yeah.
already in a weird situation.
Yeah.
Right.
I left home and I don't get to see Dad, but I still get an Easter basket. That's something.
Totally.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. I'm glad y'all did that.
Yeah. So we've got 3 different charity drives going on right now. The second one is the care packages for chemo patients. I think we're going to do it this weekend. That may be postponed for a week just because we're having some logistical issues with what to buy in terms of actual bags. I do want to thank everyone who has donated so far. We've gotten, again, hundreds of dollars for that as well. And in fact, we've gotten a few donations from listeners. So for those of you who are out there in listener land who have donated by PayPaling us at ccatheists@gmail.com, thank you. If you would like to get in on that, we have another week on that one. If you would rather, Amanda, why don't you tell them about your Lilith Fund thing?
We have a team this year. It's my first year as a team captain. Hooray! We are doing the...
There goes the fucking bull found.
Because I'm a terrible organizer, obviously. We are bowling again to benefit Lilith Fund, which is the Central Texas National Network of Abortion Funds affiliate. So we will be bowling in Austin, April 26th, and we are accepting donations.
How do we find that, Amanda? I still haven't done it yet, and I will do that this week. I promise.
I know it's the weirdest thing because you kind of have to know the address. Maybe we can put it up on the Facebook page or something.
Amanda is going to put that in the Atheist Airwaves Facebook page. If you're not a member of the Atheist Airwaves Facebook page, please do. Just go to Facebook and search for, oddly enough, Atheist Airwaves.
Surprise!
Ta-da! So this just really helps low-income women who, especially in Texas.
Yes. In Texas, it has become more expensive and more difficult to get an abortion since they closed more than half of the abortion clinics in Texas.
You can literally drive in any direction from Corpus Christi for 3 days and not hit a women's clinic.
3 days, maybe overstating it, just slightly.
Just a little bit.
But
it seems like that when you're driving.
Yes.
Texas is a big state.
It is really big. I went to a wedding this weekend in Marble Falls, and I had friends from California, and he was like, hey, I'd really like to see the Cowboys Stadium. How far is that? I was just like, drive like another 4 hours north. Right. You're going to be pretty close. And he was just like, what? How long did it take you to get here? And I was like, like 4 hours. And he was just like, what the fuck?
Just sing him the Deep in the Heart of Texas song. No, you really don't understand. I have to break into song.
That's right. So,
all right.
Yeah.
So other upcoming things we've got, we've been kind of dry on events lately, and all of a sudden we're completely swamped in them. On June 15th at the UU Church on Holly, Chris Johnson, who is an author and filmmaker, he's going to be debuting his brand new documentary, A Better Life, finding joy and meaning in a world without God. I saw a bunch of the clips from that movie when he was visiting us in Austin at the Secular Convention a couple of weeks ago. It's amazing. You really don't want to miss this. It's a free event. Please come out. He's going to be talking at the UU Church services. I don't think any of us atheist people go to that because church of any kind of sucks. This may be the first time I go to a UU thing just to see what he says. But I think I'm going to see if he'll come to our meetup that Sunday too. So June 14th, if you want to meet Chris Johnson and talk to him about that, please come out. Woohoo. Finally, we don't have dates for these, but it looks like Jerry DeWitt and Hemant Mehta, not together, but separately, will also be coming to talk to our local community here in Corpus Christi this summer. So again, if go find the Corpus Christi Atheist Facebook page, and details will be posted there about that. I'm going to skip over Patreon. If you really like us, we're not even collecting money through Patreon right now, but if at some distant point in the future when we figure out Ustream's problems, you would like to contribute, patreon.com/Atheist Airwaves. All right, let's go to Colorado.
Good old Colorado, home of Gordon Klingenschmidt, who is surprisingly not a Captain America villain. He is in the Colorado House. And first of all, I have to take a moment here because this is on the Friendly Atheist blog. Mm-hmm. And Godvine is really fucking up their ad placement because there's a Godvine ad right in the middle of the page. And I'm just like, wrong place, guys.
Yeah, that's not going to have much.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so this guy, Gordon Klingenschmidt, he there was a brutal attack this last week in Colorado where a woman met another woman on Craigslist, ostensibly for the purchase of baby clothes.
Oh, okay. It was one of those. It was not. Okay. I thought
No, it wasn't like, hey, I want to knock you out and steal your baby. No, strangely. Yeah, so this woman said she had some baby clothes for sale. The pregnant woman answered her ad, met her at her home, and was promptly knocked out and had her fetus cut from her stomach, which is just the most awful thing.
But very biblical. They love doing that in the Bible. So, I mean, you know, I'm surprised Gordon isn't more happy about it.
Yeah. Wow. And that's just, like, I love that this woman was just like, how do I get a baby? I will just cut it out and no one will fucking notice that.
I gotta say, like, I am not a very handy person ever. I mean, if there are things that need repair, I'm not gonna be able to do it. If you need me to cut something, it's gonna be all messed up. I can't even imagine thinking I could do it.
Yeah.
I'm like, if I do that, I'm gonna slice the baby. That's what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess
so much awful.
If you're the kind of person who on any given weekend might find yourself sawing a woman open to extract her baby, you're probably not thinking about.
Quite possibly. She just as easily could have, like, cut the baby's arm off or something.
You're probably not analyzing too closely what actions you're taking.
What will my surgical technique look like? Probably not high
On the
list.
other hand, maybe she has like diagrams like all over her house.
That's even creepier. Thank you, Luz.
She feels a connection to this woman.
No, I'm like actually extremely weirded out right now. Like,
I was gonna say, like, it just occurred to me that Luz is pregnant. It's like, why don't we see how hard it is?
I know you guys put me in a corner, but I feel really cornered right now.
Get the saw, Josh. Get the saw. Anyway.
Have you ever smelled chloroform?
Oh dear. So good old Gordon. He is quite convinced that this is because America has legalized abortion. Obviously, this has just been brewing for the last 34 years since we legalized Roe versus Wade. And
honestly, God is such a bad shot. I mean, assuming that he's not crazy and this is actually true. You know, because if you wanted to punish someone for abortion, just putting myself in God's shoes for a minute, my preferred victim would be someone going to an abortion clinic.
Right?
Not someone who's trying to carry their baby to term.
Seriously, why didn't this woman just hang out outside an abortion clinic? Hey, I've got a faster, cheaper solution for you.
It's a win-win, really.
Come on.
God is just showing them how to do it right.
Seriously.
Oh, God.
Well, and you know, like it's way like God is doling out retribution in half measures here. I mean, how many abortions have happened in the United States? And he like rips one baby from one womb in one town. I mean,
Colorado.
Come on, weak God, totally weak.
Weak sauce.
Yeah.
The biblical God like killed everybody.
Yeah.
Come on.
Sorry, what?
The biblical God killed everybody.
Yeah,
where's the wrath?
Yeah, that's not even wrath. That's like God's like giving you the silent treatment.
Yeah, it's like
and then like the side eye.
Passive aggressive God.
Show title.
Yeah, the good thing is that pretty much everyone in the Colorado house is just like, this guy is fucking crazy.
We don't associate with that. He doesn't speak for us.
It's not
like,
just Democrats either.
Yeah, that's the wonderful thing.
Yeah.
It's like there's a Republican, Laura Harno, who said, it's disgusting. I thought Gordon Klingenschmidt would be our next Todd Aiken. I didn't know he would be our next Westboro Baptist Church.
Damn. Todd Aiken is
amazing.
the rape guy, right?
Yes.
What did he? Which one was he?
Women,
Which Republican rape guy was Todd Aiken?
Was he the legitimate rape?
The shut
guy?
thing.
Yeah, women can shut that whole thing down. Yeah.
You can't get pregnant if you get raped.
totally.
Unless
You can
you're
just-
liking it, right? Is that the point?
Exactly.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's the legitimate rape part. Like, if you didn't really want it, you wouldn't have gotten pregnant.
If it
That's
started feeling good, then maybe it works.
Yeah. Jesus. Yeah.
I can't even. No.
Yeah. That's so terrible.
You know, the Republican House Assistant Minority Leader insisted that Gordon does not speak for his caucus. Like, they are running so far away from this guy so fast. And you know these are all Christians too, so...
Yeah. They're like, God damn it, Klingenschmidt.
Too soon, dude. Too soon.
Wow, that's some Old Testament shit right there.
Right? Oh, I just... Yeah, I like that the woman, like, cut it out, knew that the fetus was dead. It was apparently not long enough in the pregnancy that it could sustain life outside of the womb, but she immediately goes to a hospital with it.
Well, you know, she's not
I
totally
totally
crazy.
had a miscarriage, you guys. This is my baby.
This woman is obviously insane.
She is not well.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad she went to the hospital.
Yeah.
It's demons. She has demons.
Obviously. Yeah. Damn it, God. Get your aim right.
I feel really I mean, I think it's a really tragic story, actually, for both of these women.
Yes.
You know, I mean, I don't know what the fuck is going on with that one lady, but, like, healthy people do not do stuff like that.
You know? Really? Tell us
I know,
more.
understatement of the night, but fuck, man, poor lady.
It's just that she thought there was no divine retribution, so there was nothing wrong with it.
Oh, she's an atheist.
Obviously.
Oh,
She's lucky she didn't cut off that woman's penis.
Dear.
That's what we do, y'all.
Oh, God.
Yep.
I guess the last thing that I would say about this story is just about Gordon and the kind of thinking that goes into being a guy like that. And just like the woman from Arizona, these are people who are voted into office. They are given inordinate amounts of power, especially when you consider how fruit bat crack baby nuts they are. You know, his solution to an obviously mentally ill woman who murdered a baby, a fetus, and almost killed a woman is to outlaw abortion. That is how he's going to address that issue. It's not a mental illness problem. It's not a security problem. It's an abortion problem.
Yeah. You know, thanks for bringing that up again, you know, like taking us home with this, you know, because that's a really good parallel between the two politicians that we talked about tonight, because their kind of profession is to be blowhards, right? And their profession is to talk and try to find a way to manipulate every situation to further their agenda, right? And whether that means taking advantage of any situation in order to do so. And as you pointed out, they are so powerful, you know, interpersonally as well as, you know, within their office, that nobody or very few people will tell them, dude, that's fucked up. You can't say that. There's very little repercussions for these things that people say. So, like you said in the previous story, it's kind of up to us to call these guys out and let them know that. Although
I don't think it'll help much. I think it's necessary to move the dial, to move the conversation, because if you don't call attention to it, if you don't point it out, then it just continues to be, oh, well, that's just normal. That's how we react to things like this. It's God. And man, if we just got rid of the gays and the abortion, things like this wouldn't happen. Hurricanes would stop forming. It's necessary to change how people view reality. But I know this guy is in a district that has just been gerrymandered all to hell, and everyone in his district is just as crazy as this idiot.
Dude, call me Pollyanna, but I have a really hard time believing that. And I mean, I grew up in South Texas in a tiny little town that had 2 Catholic churches and like 3 Baptist churches, and that's where everybody went on Sundays, you know, whatever. I cannot believe that people are that fucking stupid and that willfully ignorant. I know there are many of them, But when we work to normalize atheism, and we work to normalize scientific skepticism, and we work to normalize questioning the bullshittery of the people in power over and over and over and over again, maybe we'll kind of remove this idea that everybody, you know, all these fucking Bible thumping assholes, you know, are in charge, and they actually represent a constituency that feels the same way that they do. I don't think that's true. I think everybody's just fucking apathetic.
Have you met our lieutenant governor? I mean, these people...
I mean, no, but, I mean, come on. I don't believe... I mean, he's a bullshitter, too. You know, he doesn't believe half of the shit that he spews.
But the people do. The people do.
Yes.
The people do, and...
But
and
many people don't. Many people don't.
If all you
but
have...
they're totally disenfranchised and completely apathetic.
Well, okay, there is some of that. Because I think if we had voter turnout that even approached 50%, then these people would not be successful.
Yeah.
I don't think it's because they're disenfranchised, though.
Well, they disenfranchise themselves. I guess I shouldn't use that
well,
word.
And it's
but they're
both.
totally fucking apathetic, for sure.
Yes.
You know, and a lot of them are just not educated. And I know like a lot of people in this town feel completely powerless. You know, they don't think anything's going to change. They don't think that their politicians are working in their favor, but they don't feel that they're empowered to do anything about it.
Well, and they have these weird ideas about what happens in politics. They have these weird ideas that the candidates are chosen for them, and so they have a choice between shit sandwich and shit sandwich with salt. And
totally.
The reality of it is that if you vote, you get to choose. I mean, those people are chosen in primaries. Mm-hmm. And so if everyone showed up to vote and said, you know, shit sandwich with cheese is not good enough, things would change. And the fact that you don't participate is why things don't change.
Right. And there's a misunderstanding, you know, those people who say, well, none of these choices are good enough, so I won't participate. And that will somehow be a statement. It's not a statement. It's an empowerment of the status quo.
Yeah, I read a study today that said non-voters trend to be Democrat voters.
Yeah, I saw that.
So yeah, it's basically you're just fucking yourself. But I love
Yeah,
it.
sure.
Totally.
But the problem is that the people who vote are even dumber, and they're the ones who believe Phil Robertson.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're the ones that can be led by the nose to whatever, you know, idea people are trying to propagate.
And let me be clear, I don't vote for shit sandwiches.
So what if those are the only options?
I will vote for a third party, or I will just skip that line. That's what I did this past election. I gotta say, my voting patterns have changed over the years as the reality of our politics has changed. So before, like, the year 2000, there was at least one Republican in almost every race I voted in. I've never voted for a presidential candidate, for a Republican presidential candidate. But, you know, dog catcher. There had been in the past Republican candidates who were worthwhile and better than their counterparts. That kind of ceased to be. I don't know. I mean, they've done this huge race to the right where they've just gotten crazier and crazier and crazier, where the mainstream people were too crazy for me to have voted for them in the 90s. And a lot of these were local races, so I mean, it may not translate to Texas. Texas may have just been crazy all the time.
Yeah, I was going to say how much of that correlated with your
where
geographic location.
Could be. But I mean, this is not really, because I was living in the same place after 2000, and that was the last time I voted for a Republican. And so for the next 2 or 3 elections, I voted straight to get Democrat. I didn't care who was on the bill. I was just like, I need a chase to the left. And then I realized all I was doing was enabling Democrats to chase them to the right, because I was guaranteeing them that no matter what kind of crazy nonsense they put out there, I was going to support it. Yeah. And so I've stopped doing that. And I'm more than willing to allow a Republican to get into office to get Democrats to stop chasing them to the right.
Sure, I agree, and that's exactly how I did it. I was the same way. I did actually vote for Republicans this time, but then again, I care about the local judiciary.
Sure,
so.
I bet you do. Let's JEFFGRINA. He totally voted for you, guy. As if any of those guys are listening to this.
I swear I voted for all the ones that won. If you won, I voted for you. And I probably wrote you a check.
You're welcome.
All right, we've just got a couple more minutes left, so let's hit this last story before we go, because I think it's kind of interesting. Maybe you will prove me wrong, but Albert Fountain is a judge in Mississippi who hears juvenile cases, including cases of minors arrested for underage drinking, and for years he's been giving young people that he convicts in his court 2 options to keep the conviction off their records and to avoid fines. The first thing they can do is write a 1,000-word essay about the effects of alcohol. Totally what I would do, only I would do it not the way he wanted me to. But anyway, number 2 is they can write a 500-word essay about the effects of alcohol, and then another 500-word essay about the book of Revelation.
That's totally legal. That's fine.
So the judge says that he doesn't force them to write about the Bible, but that almost all of them do. What do you guys think of that practice?
I wish they were writing about To Kill a Mockingbird instead.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Something worthwhile.
Yeah.
If you give people the choice between jail and write this shit,
Yeah.
duh, they're gonna write this
Or
shit.
between 1,000-word essay and 2 500-word essays.
Yeah.
That's a good
Even
point.
the grad student me would pick the second option.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
Because you can
much less
bullshit a
the
little bit.
15-year-old me.
Yeah.
You know.
I think this ties into something else that I read this week, where Kentucky and Tennessee, I think, were still making female sterilization a condition
that.
of plea bargains.
Yes. My jaw hit the floor. I only just now got it reconnected.
For
Yes.
what types of convictions?
All kinds of shit.
No shit.
Yeah, mostly like child abuse and things like that. But yeah, it was like, okay, so we'll allow you to take this plea deal if you will voluntarily submit to sterilization.
I wonder if they
Which
do
is-
like male sterilization for failure to pay your
Oh,
child support.
Of course not. Are you going to tell a man what he can and cannot do with his body? Yeah.
No.
So
I
that's-
have heard you can get out of jail earlier as a child molester if you do that.
Well, there you go.
Anyway, it's
What?
total side note.
What?
Sorry, you guys.
Anyway, but yes, it's very similar. It's like, here, you can write this essay about the shit that I
Right.
tell you, or you can
So,
go to jail. That's
but,
not really a choice.
how is that different from letting drunk drivers go to 12-step programs, which are inherently religious?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking about too. And I guess it's that. I mean, I don't know what the fucking Book of Revelations is. Sorry, guys, I'm a terrible atheist.
It's a drug trip, basically. It's an acid trip at the end of the Bible about the end of the world.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sounds awesome.
Prophecy, yo.
But I mean, generally, the 12-step program doesn't come on its own. You generally pair that with you have a thing in your car and you have to blow into it, and you've at least
probation
served some
meetings
sort of time, something like
But
that.
it's a
But
court.
it's the same thing with this. I mean, it's a 500 on each. But what I'm failing to see is the tie-in of Revelation with.
Right?
Yeah,
With
it
the-
doesn't make any sense.
With the offense, right? So
I mean, if you were going to take, a book of the Bible or something from literature and say, hey, look, this applies to this.
Right.
Maybe.
I
don't know.
I wish some reporter had asked this guy, what the hell with the
Why
Revelation, man?
Revelations?
Yeah. It makes no sense whatsoever.
Apparently, drunk teenagers are bringing about the end of the world, and they have been since the beginning of time.
No, they bring him their essay, and they go and they do meth in the back, and they do a little acid, and they're like, whoa, man, Revelation, let's talk about this stuff. That's what it is.
So that's the last book in the Old Testament, right? Is it like a prequel to the New Testament?
It's
No,
actually it's
in
a
the
New
New
Testament.
Testament.
It's
It's the
the last book of the Bible.
Oh, the last book of the New Testament.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it's about how Jesus is going to fuck you up when he comes back. That's basically what it's about.
Which is why there is such hardcore fundamentalist Christian support for Israel, because Jerusalem has to be in Jewish hands for Jesus to come back and kill everybody.
Oh, got it. Got it.
You
Got
know.
it. Dude.
So it all ties together, really. It's beautiful.
I don't know. That's dumb. Like, I mean, the guy, the judge, or whatever.
Well, Hemant Mehta over at the Friendly Atheist blog, he brought up 2 points. And one of them was about, you're more likely to write a 500-word essay, like you said, than you are to write a 1,000-word essay because you only have to do half the bullshit.
Right.
The really, really astute point I think he made here was that any halfway smart offender is going to say, if I write about the Bible, I'm going to get in this guy. I mean, obviously this guy is a Jesus freak.
Right.
And if I do the Bible thing, I'll get on his good side and get an even better deal. I think I would do the same thing in their shoes. I would put my atheism on hold until I got the hell out of court.
Yeah.
And so it's also coercive,
Very much.
Although I got to say, not as coercive as giving someone a choice between jail and 12-step program. I mean, at least here they can opt out if they, if they really want the judge to hate them.
These are like underage kids, right? I mean, and I know, like, I got in trouble for drinking when I was like 16, and I would have done I know, weird, right? But, I was willing to do whatever to just, like, make it go away, And so most of these kids are good. I mean, I don't think kids should get in trouble for drinking underage generally, but most of these kids are probably pretty good kids. Sure. And, they just want to please the dude and please their parents and get out of trouble as fast as possible and make it go away and not have it on the record and be able to go to college or join the military or whatever the fuck, right? So, like, I think it's coercive in that way, that it's taking advantage of the vulnerability of these young people, to both please the authority figures and to get out of trouble as fast as possible. Yeah. And then, like, pushing this weird religious thing onto them.
I mean, honestly, I don't think it's something that is that works effectively in order to influence people towards religion.
Sure. No, absolutely not. It's like writing lines on the chalkboard.
Exactly. It's not going to make you love writing.
Right.
Maybe
using if you
writing
read a good book.
well, I mean, even then, if you use punishment as a form of making people try to get into it, it's not going to do it. It's really.
I'm going to associate.
That's why I don't really care.
I'm going to associate your religion with being punished.
Yeah, basically.
I am in the future going to avoid your religion as much as possible. I don't know if that's necessarily true, especially, these are alcohol offenses, and like you said, Luz, most of them are probably really good kids who just got caught. You know?
Totally.
And but there are probably some of them who have hit bottom and are vulnerable to that kind of nonsense, and it could suck them in. I just think it's inappropriate for government employees to be doing. But again, until we get rid of this AA thing, I think it's hard to make an argument that this is any different.
Right. I totally agree with that.
All right, let's shut it down.
All right, later. Mic drop.
Thank you for listening to Atheist Airwaves, sponsored by Corpus Christi Atheists and the South Texas Coalition of Reason. If you'd like to compliment, complain, or make a suggestion, please write to us at god@atheistairwaves.com. Thanks to Tombstone to Deadman for our outro music. Stand by for post-show. We're going to talk about... Chat room, come up with some things for us to talk about. I want to talk about how nice we should be to religion and religionists. See you guys next week.
Being a skeptic means so much more than being an atheist. And until you accept that, you won't relate to this. That cognitive dissonance that you experience is when there's things you claim to believe in but ain't living it. Most of you say you are the type to question everything until I hear the conspiracy theories that you echoing. And when I scrutinize the things you try to say are lies, expose your sources as suspect, I see your logic dies. Some still believe in pseudosciences, engage in special pleading when theists use the exact same reasoning. I've even seen atheists use arguments from ignorance and seem pressed to tell me exactly what the difference is. A skeptic without the ability to analyze is just as bad as the theist, cause he'll probably accept the lie. Just as long as it verifies all his biases, applying it to his knowledge pool, and then he's diving in. So I'm not saying that some conspiracies do not exist. I'm just saying that a lot of them are some bullshit. So I'ma call a spade no matter who asserts it. Nobody's perfect, and just one lie, then it's all perverted. Bring down the curtains on that sad display. The only ways to question yourself and all the things you say. Start the day. And maybe we can rise above and be examples for others to emulate, and that's the way we win this battle. So this is where I'm making my stand, and now regardless who don't like it or how they get mad, see why the rest of y'all capitulate and go with the plan. I'll be beating on this wall until I'm breaking my hand. So listen while I state official policy. No matter how I'm threatened with hell, that never silence me. I know that you don't see this as imperative, but I refuse to lose and let the stupid frame the narrative.
color that my dad